with everyday people doing extraordinary things, making the world a better place. Meet Blair Chandler, planetary healer, energy practitioner, and adventurer. The founder of Blair's Herbals, Blair cannot be pigeonholed into any category. Adventurer and traveler, she is currently embracing and dancing in the mystery, beauty, and magic of her joy and life. A born intuitive, Blair has a deep sensitivity to plants and a well-developed knowledge of plant medicine, nutrition, and energy modalities. Through her travels and spending time expressing her personal passion and purpose, she is helping the planet heal. She partially accomplishes this through modeling, mentoring, and facilitating people in attuning to their personal soul path, holding space to allow a deeper, more authentic connection with Source and love. Blair delights in the transformation her travels, service, advocacy, and creative endeavors, such as artwork, writing, and photography, bring to her and her community. We hope you enjoy our conversation with Blair. Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, I'm Jonte.
Hello, I'm Sandy.
And we are the Wavelengths. So I am very excited that we are interviewing a friend of mine that I met during my Colorado years. Her name is Blair Chandler, and she is one of the most courageous women I have ever met, primarily from the perspective that, from my perspective, she is pursuing whatever it takes to be as authentic as possible in this world. And of course, everybody knows that's a challenge because we have so many rules and expectations around how we're supposed to be in the world. And I think Blair is one of those people who's going, no, I'm not going to be tied in by all these rules. I'm going to listen within and do what makes sense with that conversation with who I am within and with Source. So I call her a planetary healer, and you'll find out why as we continue this conversation. She is definitely an energy practitioner, and she is an adventurer. So Blair, thank you so much for agreeing to join us and have this conversation with us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you are right now? We are in physical form, so you are doing things, but how that relates to your being and how the being relates to your doing.
Beautiful. I'm so excited to be with you. Thank you for inviting me today. And I think that what I really want to lead with is that I want to be here with you. So I am actually present with you for this time together. And then the extra stuff is that I'm here trying to figure out how to be in the world with less attachment to the roles I've played in the past, and just observing, spending time in nature to be more connected to the dolphins and the pelicans and the sea life and the life around me. Get more in tune with the plants and the trees that I see, and actually quiet my very busy mind. And so to get simple and quiet and listening so that I can bring that to understand myself and better serve the people that I work with or pass in my day-to-day life. And I don't know, just I'm just trying to figure it out, actually, and I'm just listening for where I'm supposed to be next. But right now, I'm in California because the ocean and the redwoods are really healing for me.
That sounds, well, I mean, you're in California and it's such a beautiful energy place with nature. Of course, there are many others in the country, but that's a really cool one. Um, so we study with a teacher who has said that as we lift our own energy, that energy positively impacts everyone around us. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. Would you agree?
I would agree. I would agree. I've had some wonderful stories. I was thinking about, what could I share? This was a story that I felt was, I don't know, I was just going about my day, and as I was leaving Whole Foods, and I noticed the checkout guy was making people laugh. And when it was my turn to check out, I said to him, "You've just made so many people's days, and this is not an easy job that you do. Thank you." But then I took it one step further. I said, I'm gonna find your boss." And I went and I spent the next 3 or 4 days looking for his manager, and I found her. And I said, "You have a really special person in this guy." And she goes, "Oh, I know." Well, as it turns out, I didn't see him for a long time, but the next time I came through his checkout line, he said, "Thank you. I remember you." And I said, "You do?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "I just had a heart attack the other day. I didn't know I had symptoms. I had felt myself feeling things. But if it wasn't for," and he looked me in the eye and he said, "for people like you and my coworkers, I wouldn't have noticed the signs. I wouldn't have come in and had this experience where I could be helped." And I thought the power of our connection and the way we touch or thank or recognize or see people. Well, I shared that story with somebody, and she said it has impacted her so greatly that she thinks about that every time she moves in the world. So this thing that I didn't think much about has a growing momentum and is touching people. And because she says, now I take that extra step. I just don't take for granted a thank you. I go the extra mile because of what you told me, the story you shared. And I thought, wow, that just warms my heart. It's just amazing. And so when I have those kinds of experiences, I think that I'm in the flow. It just is amazing to me to see that more and more of those happen. And I feel them, I sense them, and I celebrate them when I connect with them.
That's a really great story. And that's kind of like what I mean when I say you're a planetary healer, is being present like that with people. But you do that with plants and animals as well. So it's like just that whole energy of love. I think that's the best expression for it. It's of unconditional love, just being present. But I also would like you to share a little bit about some of the actual things that you do, that when you work with people or animals or plants. What are some of the things that you do that helps develop this space of being authentic in your own life and helping others, working with others?
Well, that's a great question. And I often don't know what I do. And that's the truth. I really don't have. I remember the years that when I was first introduced to energy work, it was probably about 10 years ago or so. But I think long before that. But formally, I took my first class. And I remember crying because everybody else could see and hear and feel. And I thought, I suck. I like don't get it. I went back and I kept taking beginner 101. And then finally I realized that I have a different way of intuiting. That I have a deep knowing. And when I could actually let go of thinking I had to do it like everybody else, there was a freedom in that, which now is all about like less classes and more sitting on the earth and just kind of trusting myself and letting go of what I actually do. So I now have decided all the gadgets, all the crystals, all that stuff has gone. And I literally recognized in this moment when I was with someone during end of life care that I was holding his hand, and there needed to be nothing more. In that moment, I was just present. I wasn't trying to change an outcome. I wasn't trying to fix him. I wasn't trying to let him go, hold him in any other way than what was exactly meant to be. And I remember the spaciousness and the gift of that for both of us. And so I started to get better at not investing so much of my time and energy in what it's supposed to look like, which ironically, or whatever, is a challenge if you're trying to build a business and tell someone that they have a set thing they can count on after paying you money for this service. So I became very uncomfortable actually understanding how to give somebody a sense of what they would actually get from working together, because it's not me. It's this magical place that happens. The best I can describe it is this picture of what I saw at the beach the other day. There are two things that really spoke to me. One is where the dolphins come up and they're in this tight pod, and the beauty of watching them swim in the ocean, and they're in sync, and they just look so joyful and light. And then I saw these pelicans, and they're flying over in this beautiful wave, like just tail to nose, or beak to feathers, whatever you call it. But, just this beautiful arcing motion. So one very tight and one very, spread out. But together they worked. And together they were in motion together. And they were both touching in this in-between place where the nourishment lives, where their food source is. And they were, the dance that they did together was so beautiful that I was just in awe. And I sat there on the beach, really celebrating the way that we are in relationship with one another. And maybe the dolphins don't know that the pelicans are above, but together they're in this dance. And then the day before, I was at Point Conception, which is a place off the coast of California that to me was so powerful and magical, because it's where the currents from the north, from Alaska, come down and meet the currents from the south, Mexico. And they meet in this place where the great whites and the seals also are. So there's this energy vortex of life and death. And we touched into this space of the chaos that all this energy creates, and then the healing and the expansion of just the wow. So I sat in the wow, And I think that the more I sit in that place of just observing how cool, how beautiful, and how special our lives are, it continues to feed my mantra of live it now, live it today, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So risk putting yourself out there, risk saying yes, and this fear life, this fear life love, it all is this messy mix. And I just want to untangle myself from that. And I want to help people untangle by just sitting in this presence of like, wow, let me just reflect back to you, your beauty, your greatness, your voice, your path. And so they actually do the work. They think I do the work, but they actually are doing the work. And so I think that I really enjoy that I don't know what I'm doing. It's a long about way of saying, I'm not really sure what I do.
Well,
that is so beautiful. I really can resonate with everything that you said. And I feel untangled right now, just being in your presence, and your voice, the tones, the texture. I feel transported into the redwood and the dolphin energies and the energy vortex that you just so poetically described. Thank you.
And that's another gift that you have, Blair, is you are an artist, right? And a photographer, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So there's so many levels at how you interact in the world and with all the life in the world. I would like our viewers to know your background. You said you started with energy work about 10 years ago, but I think before that, if I remember correctly, you were doing artistic work. Mm-hmm. And even before that, there were other pieces that have led you to where you are right now. Do you mind? We'd love to hear your journey from wherever you want your starting point to be up to this point of what I would call intense trust.
Beautiful. Well, it's funny because I think if you say it like that, where I want to go is when I first moved to Boulder 30 years ago, and I was desperately seeking a doctor, a reputable, like the best ever doctor, because I would feel safe. So I got a recommendation, and I dragged myself to the office, and I started talking. And he told me to shut up. And I went, what? And he said, sit down. And basically he told me to shut up. And I went, wow. I paid a lot of money and he didn't do anything. And I left scratching my head, and I thought, this is crazy. But then I've since learned that he gave me the greatest gift of my life. And he gave me the gift of my own self-empowerment, in my own healing, and in my own life. He said, what do you want me to do? And I was like, do all the tests, do what you're supposed to do. You're the doctor. And from that point on, I started really researching, what do I put in and on my body? And I started to take more responsibility for my own path, because I had given myself away so greatly, I didn't even know. So all that to say that I started to take responsibility for reading labels and thinking about, how do I take care of my temple? How do I take care of me? How do I take care of soon to be my 3 children? How do I bring them up in a place where I've given them the very best? And it started with taking care of me. So I would say that that's my short intro. So what was the rest of the question? I forgot.
It's basically sharing your journey. So that was I would call that a moment of awakening
Okay.
with the doctor, where you're like, hey, wait a minute, instead of giving it up to others to take care of me on whatever level that's expressed, that's when you went, no, it's my job to, and I love that you're an advocate of many things on this planet, politically, on a personal level. But so that to me is kind of like when you started that path of advocacy, starting to advocate for yourself and educating yourself so that you could do that from a place of knowledge. But you've done many things along that path. That was kind of the start.
Okay. So then I get to the plants, and I recognize I have a relationship to plants. I sing to the plants, or I recognize that they have medicine. And I thought my first awakening there was when I thought, all right, dandelions are weeds, but actually when they are growing in concrete sidewalks and in alleyways, there's a certain tenacity and a certain strength that they bring us, as well as the sunny yellow sunshine of the flower. They're medicinal. You can eat all parts of them. And I was fascinated by that. I thought, okay, here's something we consider to be trash, and we would try to eradicate it. And they're a pain, but they're actually really one of the most magical plants for me. And so I started to put the dandelion leaves in. I started cooking with them and making vinegars with the leaves. And then I started making pestos with the leaves. And then I started frying up the dandelion heads and terrorizing the kids with them, because they were like, seriously, Mom, it's dandelion season again. Oh my God, but I breaded and fried them, and I wanted, because when we eat, I love this concept. When we eat the weeds that have their own life force and free will, it strengthens our life force and free will. And when you sing to the plants, there's a way that the plants, and you honor them, and you bless them, and you see them in their beauty. And even when they're not beautiful, but you pay attention to them, which I do, and I have learned to drop into more and more. Then there's a sharing that there's an exchange that happens, and that exchange allows the medicine to be shared. And so I began to make products with the plants, and these products felt so alive to me because the plants were offering their life and their life force. And so simple, it wasn't, I could no longer get and buy products in the store that, even if they were organic, that weren't in right relationship with the plants. So my business of Blair's Herbals became a business where I took the simple plants like a rose, a lavender, violet leaves, and rosemary for remembering our true self, violet for the heart-shaped leaves that help us with grief, lavender that sometimes is calming but can be stimulating, and roses for self-love and also for beauty and protection. And those became my allies. And I worked with those, and I made bath salts and oils and vinegars and salves and lip balm party kits. And I went to the farmer's market and I tried to sell those, because it was important to me to have people know that where their products come from, where they get supported, and pay more attention to the world around them through the products. I found that I did more educating than actually selling of products per se, because a lot of people I learned didn't even know what a dandelion was, believe it or not.
Wow.
And then when they found out that they could use it and it was food and medicine, they became excited. And so I watched these people start to learn that they could take care of themselves. And actually, like, they would come with their products and say that they were breaking out or this or that. So I really help people on their healing journeys, because we talked about how simple it is and what it means to actually eliminate or take away some of the stuff that might be an irritant, and to focus on the things that are actually nourishing. So for me, that was my work in the world for about 8 years, until it became difficult to all these rules that I'm up against. I didn't want to follow the rules anymore. Simply said, I wanted to actually get closer to the earth and not have to worry about what I said and how I said it on labels and how I presented things. I wanted it to be authentic and real, and know that those people who wanted to find me would find me. And they have.
Right.
And they have, because they wanted to learn energy work, but they wanted to learn it through the plants. And so I was able to offer that uniqueness, that combination of plant and energy, because there are many people who sing to plants, and many people who want to know them more deeply and don't recognize that a plant laid on their heart or on their pulses makes my work so much easier. Like, I don't have to do a thing. I just literally either plant brush or invite the plants to come into the sessions and do their work. That's all. It's actually stepping back and away and allowing and just deeply listening and allowing something else to happen. And it's magic. It's all I can say is it's like mystical and magical. And I just sit there and truly I'm in awe, or celebrate that all this connectedness and this joy and this love that comes by just paying attention.
That's so beautiful. And after the plants, or I guess it was during the work of doing Blair's Herbals, is that when you started with the paintings and the drawings and the photography?
Yeah, well, true. What happened was I was a big advocate of other people's self-care, but as a mom and trying to work, I forgot about my own. And so I signed up for this painting class, and it was so, and I went to this painting class. It was the first time that I had really taken myself out of the busyness. And even in my painting, I had like 5 paintings going at the same time, and I was manically putting color on canvas. And then I went back the next year and I manically put more paint on a canvas. And I was surprising myself at how my soul was so hungry for color and time and texture, and it's watercolor. So it was easy. And I, as a person who likes structure and form and getting things done, painting was crazy making for me, because the paint would have its own expression, its own direction, and I couldn't control it. And damn it, it was so hard. And I wanted to make a tree look like a tree. Again, the more I let go, the more I was allowed to play. And I longed for play. And I think people long for play. And so I also had to get out of my head, like, I'm not a painter. I have so many people who say, well, I'm not a painter, I'm not a singer. Well, None of us are until we say we are, until we give it a go. So I'd like to think that I've inspired people to actually pick up a paintbrush or get up on stage and sing, which is also another joy of mine, or get out there and dance. And you don't have to have anyone watching. The other night I was underneath a full moon, and don't tell anyone, but dancing underneath the light and the energy of the full moon.
Oh, yeah.
Found it was joyous. It was
joyous. And you reach up into and take the light codes from the full moon and bring them down into your heart space.
Right. And everybody was off the beach at that time. Mm-hmm. They're all inside, and I'm sitting underneath shooting stars in a full moon, and I'm thinking, this is sensual. It's delicious.
It's mystical. It's the nighttime beach. It's a very unique feeling to be in that space. And so that brings me to, this morning I was meditating, and I was actually listening to your songs that you recorded, your spoken word. And I have to say, I love them. I felt inspired, and they're so different, and each one has its own flavor. And I would love to know the inspiration behind some of them, especially I think the one I resonate with all of them. Today I was really feeling light me up. I love it.
Thank you, Shantae. I have to be honest and tell you that these things come through me, and then I don't know what has just been written. It's gone. I let it go.
That makes sense.
So I have to think back to the inspiration, but I think I remember during, there was a week or 2 or 3, I think it was a bunch of weeks actually, that I felt myself waking up at 2 a.m. So I got a notepad next to me, and I was like, really? You have to wake me up at 2 a.m? This is, no. Like, can't you come at 8 a.m. or something? And I wrote it down, and I thought, you know what? This is because it doesn't feel like it was efforted. I need to trust it. And I need to think that it's meant to be heard in a different way. So those spoken words are actually not quite finished yet, I think. I feel that they need the dance component to it. So I'm actually looking to put a music video to it, to them.
That is so cool.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm trusting that the right people will show up and help me know how to do that, because
they will.
Now I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
And then I have a book of poetry, and I have 2 books I'm working on right now that I just need a little extra push to complete. Mm-hmm. And one is a book on poetry. It's sort of to me, they're art forms that take uncomfortable situations, which I happen to be in right now, like just unknowing and discomfort, if you will. But I know there's rich material there, and so it's coming out in writing and art. So I take the pain or the sadness or the grief of things I'm letting go of, and stepping fully into trust or the unknown or the chaos or whatever, where I trust that there's juice, and more importantly, I trust that there's life. And I really want to choose life over fear. Yeah. And so my journey is one of stepping forward, being with people who also understand how to reach those deep, dark, hard places, and want to create anew from them. Not better, not happy, not ignoring, but to be real with them and to see what kind of art they can make for themselves too. So it's not pretending that life is should be, or always joyful. But how do we model how to take difficult parts of our life and make art with it, or just be with it and allow those emotions to be expressed, and perhaps there's such to be witnessed in it. Comes back to this idea of healing. So whether it's through art or photography, if there's a moment that someone can pause and say, "Oh, I get that," or "I feel that," or "I know that," and I'm not alone, then I feel like I feel that my purpose and my work is reflected back to me in those moments.
So if you could put it into words, speaking of your purpose, would you feel comfortable with one or two sentences basically saying what you perceive your purpose to be, where your passion is, which a lot of people and structures call, "Oh, that's my mission statement." But I like that you call it, "This is my purpose. This is my," well, I said passion, but to me, it's kind of the same thing, especially when it comes to you, because that's what you're doing, is following your passion. So what would that be?
Say the question again, please.
If you could put it into words, what your passion is, what your purpose is.
That's the problem. It's the words. When you say the words, it's
Well,
like,
how about describe the feeling?
okay, thank you. That's better. The feeling part is when I, let's see. I get where you're going with this. I think there's so much that's unraveling right now, and I'm in this place of deep exploration and reclaiming parts of myself that I didn't know, and finding myself to be my own good company, even, living in the back of my own Subaru for weeks on end. I don't tire of myself in that way, and when I can live authentically myself and be connected, and from that place show up for a friend or somebody out of surgery or somebody in an end of life situation. I think of my work as being a voice for those who have no voice as well, or like the planet, coming back to planetary healing for the plants, for my advocacy work. I'm drawn to speak in a way that feels that I'm not just speaking. I speak because it's soul speak. It's coming out of me and I can't help it. So my challenge is to be able to do it in such a way that my thoughts and my feelings and my art can be received as healing, not as abrasive, not as I'm super intense. So to kind of soften and be in the flow. So my work, I've specifically thought, well, because I've had these clients that have inspired me so much. So let's say heart patients. And I know that when I was working recently with a heart patient out of surgery, and there was a blockage in one of the valves, and I felt this intuition of saying, which is not me, of course, this is an old adage, like there are two masters, love and fear. You can't serve them both. And you have a blockage in your heart this organ of love, sensory organ extraordinaire. Let me ask you about your fears. Oh, yes, I've got lots of fears. I'm like, right. And there was this beautiful moment of recognition that he recognized that in order to focus on the healing of his heart, he had to soften around the fears. His choice. But it made me really realize that there's a need, potentially there's a need for the kind of space held that I like to consider that the presence for people who come out of surgery, for example, where the surgeons are so gifted in the surgical procedure. But then the patient is left with sort of perhaps an irritated heart and a nervous system that's not quite settled. And I would love to see myself alongside a seasoned cardiologist, surgeon. And for example, that could be a concrete, like I've done my work and then he sends his client to me and we work together. And so I want to see ways in which I can work together in community. I've often thought about myself as a community resource, if you will, where I have been called at 8:00 at night because somebody had a migraine and they just didn't know what to do. And I thought, well, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I'd love to come over in my pajamas, basically. It's after hours, if you will. There are no hours for me. So, there are boundaries, but if somebody is in need, I do my best to see if I can't be present for that. So I go over and just that being seen, being held in that moment can shift someone from panic to breath work again, to coming back into their empowerment place, into knowing what they know, like out of this panic and fright into a place where actually healing can occur. When your nervous system is still, the body knows how to move forward. That I trust, so a facilitator in somebody's own recognition of what they can do.
The word that came up for me for you is that you're a life doula.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. Thank you, Sarah.
So like my daughter's going to have a doula for her birth. There are death doulas who facilitate the process of transitioning from the physical form to the non-physical form. It seems like what you're doing, actually two kind of things. The life doula, which is you're facilitating people finding authentic life, if you will, which is the love, maybe even a soul doula, depending on if you're working on the physical or the energetic or the authenticity of being authentic in the world. But it just seems like, to me, that's what you're facilitating. Maybe we should change your title to Life Doula and Planetary Healer.
Go for it. I'm not attached to any labels right now. I'm like free of attachment around that. And it's forming. It's always changing and forming. I guess that's the thing, is I'm just exploring, experimenting, and the more experiences I have, the more information I have to work with to figure out what the heck do I do.
That's what it seems like. The more that you unravel into these experiences, your trust in source becomes more unwavering.
True. Absolutely true.
Yeah, and the more that you can trust and the more that you become present with that, you can only free up yourself, but in that process, everyone around you can see a path to find their own way, just because your presence is enough to help them find their own way. And having classes and having something specific gives you a foundation, but yet after that foundation, it's like, oh, so why do I have to keep doing it just the same way all the time? I can create and let the flow of the universe come in, and we'll go with that. So if you're in tune with that and you can lead yourself and lead others in a way that they can find their own way, it's a really, really wonderful way of being.
Thank you, Sandra. I was thinking that I just walking, taking women into nature, like barefoot I love walking barefoot on the trails or spending time at the beach. And I forget how naturally and easily it comes to me, and how people would actually, I think I need to provide more, but sometimes the simple act of just being held in an uncomfortable or new situation, which would be, can I really take off my shoes and have my feet touch the earth? And will I get, prickers on my feet, or will it be, is it too cold or sharp or pokey? And I think, can I hug a tree? Can I touch a plant? We all have relationships to our environment, but it's become easier to get disconnected from nature and the world around us. So it's permission and an invitation to stretch and to come back out and remember how to be with the plants, and how to look up at the stars, and how to find the beauty in the dolphins that swim by. I mean, I literally get brought to tears when I see these dolphins in the ocean. And I was thinking about the person that I've been working with lately well, actually there are a couple, but I volunteer for an organization called Life Spark, which offers free Reiki and healing touch to people who are undergoing cancer treatments. And it's a beautiful opportunity for somebody to just receive some energy work. And one of my clients is very immunocompromised and inside her house all day. And at first I was a little nervous on my weekly calls to say, yeah, this is really me. I'm living out of the back of my car right now and don't, kind of on the road and don't really have work and don't really have a house right now and don't really, things are in transition, big transitions. And I thought, wow, how do I actually expect her to feel safe with me if I'm not somehow authentic with her when she says, how are you doing? So I took 30 seconds and I said, I'm kind of a mess right now, but I'm okay. I'm good. I'm here. I'm present. Let's go. Let's do it. Woohoo! Let's do it. And so we had a session and she immediately went, thank you. Because sometimes I get confused. I had a nice little office. I loved my office, very professional. But my office is now the world. The walls have come down. I'm now not bound by 4 office walls. And certainly this current situation where people don't want to come into an office helps me to remember my new office is so much more fun and so much more attractive and so much more like deliciously energetically supportive. So I go outside when I do these sessions. And so she said to me, oh, I had one moment I was driving through reservation land and I lost cell service and I had to go, oops, let me be professional. And then I thought, I'm going to be honest and transparent. I said, I just went through a dead spot, reservation area. She goes, where are you? And I said, I'm, do I tell her where I am? I'm driving to, I don't know where I might be sleeping in a Whole Foods parking lot tonight. I don't know. And she's like, oh. And then she said, but tell me where you are. And I said, okay. I'm driving through Petrified National Forest right now. I took a deep breath and I was like, I'm being so vulnerable. I'm telling her where I am. And she said, continue. Tell me where you are. And I said, I'm on the road. And she goes, I need you to be my ears, eyes, smell. I've been in my home. I don't get out. Can you please describe what you're seeing? Can you bring me with you? And I thought, wow, like I get to do this. I get to call this work. I actually get to like bring hope and life and the smells of the desert and the sights that I see as I'm driving, even with the sadness of the wild dog carcasses on the side of the road, which really broke my heart open. But the peace and the vastness, no billboards, no buildings and people, chaos. It was profoundly quiet. And she said, thank you. And the next week she said, tell me where you are now. And I said, well, now I'm by the ocean. And now I see my friends, the dolphins. And she's like, thank you. Thank you. And I take for granted that some people are behind Zoom screens all day long. And some people can't leave their house. And some people need to know what's out there. And I need to know what's out there. So I put myself in these situations. I sleep on the side of the road. I do. I don't have to, but I choose to. I dance under the moonlight. I get all covered in mud. I go to the hot springs and I soak there because it makes me happy. And I think this world needs to know, I need to know that with all the heaviness and all the chaos, that there's also light and love and joy. And damn it, people bring that to me and I bring that to them. And I really feel that connectedness. And so it's not like I know what I'm going to do every day. I don't. But I just start the day and I say, gratitude for the day. And may I be in service. And I spend time just trusting that the people and the places and the things I'm supposed to do will show up.
Yeah. I wanted to comment on your statement of, in essence, being present with nature. I had the gift and honor of being able to visit Japan. I don't remember exactly. I think it was around 2017, somewhere around there. And you know me, I love to research things. And one of the things I've noticed, I think this whole disconnect is more Western perspective, because the thing I noticed is that nature is paramount in Japan. being with nature, being in. Now, that's not to say that there aren't places where they've lost touch, that they have. The more into technology they are, like in Tokyo, I don't even remember seeing much in the way of plants in Tokyo. And just like here, they've kind of they have that disconnect. But in going to, say, the Sagana forest, which is the bamboo forest in Kyoto, and other places like that, a lot of the places of worship are in nature. And one of the things that I found most fascinating about Japan is that traditionally, but prior to Western influence, the violence was almost non-existent.
Mm.
Violence against other humans was almost non-existent. And the violence that has been there in the last 100 years actually started coming from westernized countries, where people would come on the ships and then attack, and it's like, I have to wonder, especially with what you've shared, if that's part of why we're violent, either towards ourselves and or towards others, is that we've disconnected from the planet in many ways, and the growth of the planet, the healing nature of plants.
Mm-hmm.
So your sharing just brought that correlation up in my mind. Yeah. Anyway, so you several times mentioned that you work with clients, and obviously you're working with them over the telephone.
Yes.
So how does that work, since you have a non-structured structure, if you will? There's obviously some kind of structure. You have a telephone, so that's a structure of communication, facilitation. How does that work? I mean, I know at the end of our podcast, we will give the listeners your blairsherbals.com website. You have Spotify and was it Instagram?
Yes.
And you have
all those
phone
social
number.
media stuff, and I'm not very technologically savvy, so yes, they exist. But as an artist and out in the world, I don't spend a lot of time. I maintain it, but
right. But people
so,
can connect with you.
Totally.
So, is there a specific type of clientele you're looking for, or does that matter? Just whoever's drawn to you? How does that work? And what are, because people do like to have some kind of definition, so they know, oh, if I go to Blair, then she's going to help me become more connected to myself, or she's going to help me with this transition, or whatever.
Oh, that sounds good, Sarah. Can you be my marketing person?
So how would you define, one, the clients, that the people who might seek you out, in terms of what you've been doing now with people? I know
that's a great question. And I would say that I love working with people who are interested in the spiritual healing as well, and who actually understand that I'm not the one that's fixing them, but they understand that it's a partnership and a co-creative. We're co-creating something together.
right.
And so that opens doors to tremendous potential in somebody feeling better. I say to people when they work with me, as a really blanket, very safe thing I can say is that you'll feel more relaxed. I can guarantee that.
Mhm.
Beyond that, I can't guarantee anything. But I know that we check in by phone. So this is all news in the last 2 years that I've gone remotely. I even go remote for animals. So, it's beyond a lot of people's understanding of how this works when you're not actually touched. And I know that in the world as I knew it, I loved having people on a physical table in my office where they would get light hand touch. And I think we all need touch. I don't think we all need, most of the people who come to me appreciate touch. And I used to be able to incorporate all sorts of earth-centered body modalities of massage and plant work, and even without being officially certified as a whatever, blah, 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 fill in the blank. When you're led and you hear and you have a trust between two people, then a lot can happen in that. And sometimes I would have to just massage a shoulder to get somebody to get out of their head and into their body. So the type of person that I like to work with is someone that's open, because every session is so uniquely different. I can't tell you what it's going to look like. In fact, some people like to talk all for the hour, and some people know exactly how to drop in, and they go to their special place and they report back after we hang up. We go and I simultaneously hold space while they go to the place that they know so well, and they have their support. And then they come back and we can connect at the end of the hour and share experiences, or really it's about them. So they get to learn more about how they work with energy and their energy guides. And I think of myself, I actually like to think of myself, it takes the pressure off as being one of a number of people they might call on as a healing team. So I don't have that pressure to feel like I'm anything other than an additional resource for them that they can trust can meet a certain aspect of their healing that the other doctors, therapists, whatever can handle. But I fall into a uniquely different category. And again, one that's not fully defined, but I trust that there's value in safety. There's value in safety when we work together. And that's what they would get, is they would get presence. They would get, and some people bring their animals because they feel their animals are the ones that have the problem. And I totally get that. They'll spend anything on their animals and whatever it is that gets them in, it doesn't matter. I know, they know, but we don't say it. We just smile, and they get what they want, and their animal comes back and again and again. I'm like, it's so wonderful. So I don't have a particular person or thing, or I think healing needs to happen individually and globally, and I'm doing both right now. I send prayers out for the world frequently, world situations frequently, more frequently these days, daily, multiple times a day, and then for people, they come when they need it. And I don't tell them when and how they have to show up. They just know that, I need a Blair session today. And I'm honored, feel humbled and honored to be asked and in service in that way. So that's what I would have to say around that.
Well, thank you. It's interesting because this hour plus a few minutes has just flown by so quickly. And I feel like
Yes,
we could talk
so fun.
even more, but out of respect to our listeners, we really try to stay within the hour or so.
Mhm.
And I want to make sure that people have your contact information when I have you here, to make sure I wrote it down correctly. So
Mhm.
it's your website, which you say is a placeholder because things are going through transition. But if I remember correctly,
It's there, and they can see blogs, and they can follow my travels, and they can,
right,
they can see what
see your
my work really
paintings,
is. They can see my
see your
paintings.
drawings, maybe hear a little song or see a poem or something like that.
Mhm.
That is www.blairsherbals.com, and Blair's Herbals is spelled B as in boy, LAIRSHERBALS.
That's correct.
And then your email is blairchandler@me.com. So that's BLAIRCHAND as in David, LER @me.com. And you have Instagram, I Paint Life Studio.
Correct.
So I'm not familiar with Instagram. So you have capital I, capital P. Does that matter?
I don't think so. I don't.
Okay.
Does anybody know?
I'm not familiar with Instagram either.
Yeah. So I Paint Life Studio. And then your phone number, people can reach you direct that way through text or a voice message, or if they happen to catch you when you answer the phone, 720-224-6078. So is all that accurate?
Beautiful. Yes.
Okay. And you're on Spotify. I did not know that. I think it was Shantae who figured that out. So do they just search your name, Blair Chandler?
Yes, it's Blair Nichols Chandler on Spotify.
Blair, I'm going to put that on the outro.
And then they can also snoop on, and they can also research on YouTube for some herbal videos and some singing and dancing videos.
Okay, so YouTube, it would be Blair Chandler.
I think so.
Okay, I'll see. I'll look it up before I finalize your podcast. And on Spotify, you said it's Blair Nichols.
Nichols, Nichols.
Blair Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else to that, or do they just look for Blair Nichols?
Yeah, Blair Nichols Chandler.
Blair Nichols Chandler. Okay. Want to make sure they can
enjoy
it.
The songs are 3-minute teaser versions of long poems that would be published in my books.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm glad we've got that stuff handled. As we come to a close, this is the last shot, guys, of asking questions. Or Blair, if there's something you'd like to add that we haven't covered. Okay.
Well, I just want to give my true heartfelt gratitude to the three of you for this opportunity experience to be in relationship with you on this very important topic of, I don't know,
authenticity.
Of just being.
Just being
present.
Yes. Sandy, very nice to meet you.
It's very nice meeting you. You actually clarified quite a bit for me. So,
are you going to be joining me on the road then?
Not at the moment, but there are a lot of people who just gotten in their car and taken off, and there's a whole tiny community of people that are on the road and that are moving around, and nomads and people that are in transition and who are just taking off and seeing what's happened. So there's a lot of people around who are in transition doing the same thing, and which is what the whole world is going through right now, is a transition, and coming out to figure out new ways of doing stuff that works for people, a much better and much broader ways of working. And people are let's get back to normal. And it's like, well, there is no normal. And we're all trying to find new ways of doing stuff. And we don't have to be put in a little bitty box the way we've always been. So I would love to get on the family stuff is preventing me at the moment. But I would love to just hop in something bigger than my car though at the moment. Take off and see the world and go visit and just go visit all my friends. I have friends all over, so I would love to just go friend hopping
and work along the way where you're
and work along the way.
You meet some amazing people out on the road too that are doing incredible things. I mean, just really, it's awe-inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you are definitely inspirational, Blair.
You are inspirational. And when you start taking women out in nature, let me know, because I would love to experience that with you.
Yeah. Okay. I will. Thanks, Chante. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the other thing I want to real quick verify, you are traveling around, but mostly it's in the Midwest and West Coast, like Mountain Time and Pacific Time. Is that correct?
Yes. In this country.
In this country, yeah. So
I don't know.
Moment,
in this moment, we can say that I'm in Pacific Time.
But because there may be some people who are listening who are like, oh, I would love to have Blair come and take a group of us out into nature. And
I will travel. I will travel for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
just
it's going to be like really, yes, I can be swayed. I absolutely am open. And that's part of the journey, right? It's part of listening and just saying, yeah, that sounds, this is tickling my heart. Yes, this is a yes.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you again so very much for taking the time to share with us. This is definitely a gift for all of us, and hopefully, and I'm sure it will be for all of our listeners as well. So we're going to say goodbye now, and just everybody have a beautiful moment in life that continues throughout life. We hope you have enjoyed our conversation with Blair. Blair can be reached at the website www.blairsherbals.com, the email blairchandler@me.com, YouTube channel Blair's Herbals, Instagram I Paint Life Studio, the phone number 720-224-6078, and on Spotify at Blair Nichols Chandler. Please take a moment to visualize our planet Earth bathed in white light. Everything within, on, and surrounding the planet filled with this white light, and all energies in whatever form moving into and staying balanced for the highest good of all concerned.